Greetings everyone, I'm Sam, and today we're embarking on a journey into yet another distressing case. It was Monday, September 14th, 2015, etched into the memory of 16-year-old Nolen Buchanan as the pinnacle of his existence. The preceding Sunday had been a day of bliss spent in the company of his girlfriend. They attended Mass together, partook in a familial gathering, and capped off the evening with a romantically charged ambiance. As Nolen awakened on Monday beside his cherished partner, he felt imbued with a sense of liberation and prosperity akin to a seasoned entrepreneur, for he was now the proprietor of Buchanan Construction. The prospect of inheriting assets, cars, a house, land, and monetary resources fueled his aspirations to revolutionize the family enterprise, believing he could rectify the missteps that led to his father's company facing bankruptcy. However, fate took an unexpected turn on October 1, 2015, when Nolen Keith Buchanan found himself apprehended at Bonita High School in Bonita, California, by the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. Subsequently, he was remanded to the Juvenile Treatment Center, JTC, in South Lake Tahoe, where he remained until June 13, 2018. Following a trial presided over by an El Dorado County jury comprising 7 men and 5 women, Buchanan was convicted on 3 counts. The jury deliberated for a mere 2 hours before rendering a verdict, sentencing the young man to a staggering 150 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after the completion of his 25th year of incarceration. Thus, Nolen's aspirations of steering the family business toward prosperity met an abrupt and harrowing end. Despite being lauded as a paragon of virtue and academic excellence by neighbors and peers alike, Nolen's life took a tumultuous trajectory. Classmates reminisced about him as an exemplar of virtuous conduct and scholastic diligence. Ben, a fellow student at Bonita High School, expressed astonishment at Nolen's arrest, citing his amiable nature and dedication to his studies. However, beneath the facade of normalcy, a dark undercurrent permeated the Buchanan family saga. Join me as we unravel the intricacies of this tragic narrative, dissecting the events that culminated in Nolen's downfall. Molly's introduction to Adam Buchanan marked the beginning of a significant chapter in both their lives. She crossed paths with Adam while applying for a position as an office manager at his firm. At that juncture, Adam was already navigating the complexities of single parenthood, raising his son Nolen from a prior marriage. Molly's vibrant, sociable demeanor immediately caught Adam's attention, and their mutual interest quickly blossomed into a romantic entanglement. Dreaming of a harmonious and loving family dynamic, Molly embarked on a journey to forge a deep bond with her stepson Nolen. Their bond grew stronger, and soon, Molly found herself expecting a child of her own, welcoming Gavin into the world. The Buchanan family, consisting of Adam, Molly, Nolen, and Gavin, was perceived by acquaintances as a tight-knit unit. Adam, as the head of the household and owner of a construction company, ensured a comfortable life for his family. They even invested in a vacation property, a quaint cabin nestled on 19 acres in Greenwood, El Dorado County, California. Despite its rustic charm and lack of modern amenities like electricity and plumbing, Adam took on the task of renovating the cabin, transforming it into a cherished retreat for the family. However, tragedy struck on September 13, 2015, when a wildfire ravaged a portion of their property in Greenwood Township. The Garden Valley Fire Department responded to the emergency, discovering that the flames had consumed 10 acres of land, reducing the cabin to ashes. Amidst the wreckage, charred remains were found, prompting a grim realization that a life had been lost. The coroner, faced with the daunting task of examining the scene, uncovered human remains amidst the debris, a skull, and a burned chest. As investigators delved deeper into the incident, it became apparent that the cabin served as a vacation getaway rather than the family's primary residence. Further examination revealed the presence of a Dodge truck and trailer nearby, indicating the transient nature of the occupant's stay. The process of tracing the ownership of the vehicle through its license plates unfolded swiftly, revealing a potential link to the victim of the wildfire. It didn't take long for authorities to ascertain that both the vehicle and the trailer were registered to Buchanan Construction, a company under the proprietorship of a man named Adam Buchanan. Adam resided approximately 160 miles away from the site of the incident, a 3-hour drive in Bonita, California. This information aligned with law enforcement's initial hypothesis, suggesting that the affected property served as a rural retreat for individuals seeking respite from urban life. However, the crucial question remained: who was present at the time of the tragedy? Adam Buchanan himself or another individual? The identification of the company's owner provided investigators with their initial lead, kickstarting a meticulous inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the incident. Tasked with verifying the well-being and whereabouts of the Buchanan family members, officers from the Bonita Police Department promptly set out to their designated address. Upon arrival, they spotted a white Ford pickup truck parked in the Buchanan's driveway, prompting them to approach the residence cautiously. Knocking on the door, they were met by Adam's 16-year-old son from his previous marriage, who greeted them with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Sensing the need for discretion, the officers opted to ascertain the occupants of the house before divulging the nature of their visit. It was plausible that the company vehicle had been borrowed by someone other than Adam Buchanan himself. Nolen Buchanan, Adam's son, informed the officers that his father, accompanied by Molly and their 8-year-old son Gavin, had departed for their rural estate located 160 miles away for the weekend. This revelation shed light on the absence of Adam Buchanan from the scene, redirecting investigators' focus towards unraveling the events leading up to the tragic incident. According to Nolen, his father had entrusted him with the responsibility of overseeing the household during their absence, with plans to return later that evening. At this juncture, investigators refrained from drawing conclusive connections between the charred remains found in the cabin and the Buchanan family. However, the accumulation of information, coupled with the discovery of what appeared to be remains of 2 individuals by the evening of September 13th, prompted authorities to report the family as missing in the aftermath of the El Dorado County fire on September 14th. El Dorado County Police visited Nolen's residence on September 14th to conduct a more detailed inquiry and ascertain the occupants the fire had potentially claimed. Upon arrival, they were met by Adam's parents, Howard and Susan Buchanan, who expressed deep concern over their inability to establish contact with their son and daughter-in-law. Howard and Susan revealed that Adam frequently visited the cabin for maintenance work, underscoring the importance of the property to him. Notably, the cabin relied on generators for power, with gas cylinders stored inside. By September 15th, investigators were able to gather evidence from the now-cooled fire scene, including debris from a nearby fire pit. Detective James Peterson of the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office disclosed a significant development: the discovery of additional remains, notably a piece of skull bearing a bullet hole. This revelation marked a critical turning point, shifting the focus of the investigation from a potential accident to a homicide. Forensic examination revealed a bullet lodged in the victim's thigh, indicative of a deliberate act. Moreover, the size of the skull suggested it belonged to a child, dispelling the notion of a tragic mishap and affirming the suspicion of foul play. With the narrative of murder looming large, investigators delved into various plausible scenarios. Initially, attention centered on potential motives related to Buchanan Construction, where Adam held a prominent position. Suspicions lingered around disgruntled individuals harboring grievances against him within a professional capacity. However, as leads in this direction faltered, scrutiny turned towards the dynamics within Adam and Molly's marriage, exploring the possibility of internal discord or external threats stemming from Molly's personal connections. The investigation uncovered numerous potential motives as details emerged about Molly and Adam's tumultuous relationship. Over time, their once solid bond had frayed, leading to a significant deterioration in their marital harmony. Indeed, at the time of the crime, they had been sleeping in separate quarters for an extended period. A pivotal discovery came in the form of a diary belonging to Molly, wherein she documented instances of abuse allegedly inflicted by Adam. Witnesses corroborated this narrative, recounting instances of Adam's harsh treatment not only towards Molly, but also towards the children. Molly's mother, Susie Slanker, candidly admitted to investigators the fear she harbored during the heated exchanges between the couple, expressing concern that the conflict might escalate to a tragic outcome. Despite the discord, Molly did not sever ties with Adam completely. Instead, she resorted to periodic escapes to her parents' home with her son, seeking refuge until tension subsided, only to return home before the cycle repeated itself. Furthermore, it came to light that the couple shared a penchant for hunting in the vicinity of their rural retreat. Given the presence of firearms in the household, investigators entertained the possibility that a heated altercation escalated to a fatal conclusion. In this scenario, it was surmised that one of the spouses may have reached for a firearm in a moment of anger, inadvertently causing harm, and, upon realizing the gravity of their actions, tragically ended their own life in a spiral of despair. However, a perplexing inconsistency surfaced amidst the investigation. If the tragedy indeed stemmed from a conflict between husband and wife, logic dictated that the instrument of the crime must have been in close proximity to one of them, yet no such evidence was found. Investigators speculated that the weapon might have been damaged or obscured by the fire, rendering it less conspicuous than anticipated. Over the span of 5 days, forensic teams meticulously sifted through the ashes, conducting an exhaustive search of the premises. Despite their methodical efforts, the anticipated breakthrough remained elusive. No weapons were unearthed within the charred remnants of the home. As the forensic examination progressed, crucial data emerged. DNA analysis conclusively linked the remains to Adam Buchanan, Molly McAfee, and their 8-year-old son. Tragically, all 3 victims bore gunshot wounds predating the inferno. Moreover, the trajectory of the bullet wounds dispelled the notion of self-inflicted harm, casting doubt on the theory of suicide. The absence of firearms within the burned-out home pointed to the presence of a 4th individual, a perpetrator who wielded the weapon responsible for the Buchanan family's demise. Faced with this unsettling revelation, law enforcement officials were compelled to recalibrate their investigation from square one. Their focus shifted towards Nolen, the 16-year-old son of the deceased, as a potential key to unlocking the mystery. During questioning, Nolen recounted that the family had embarked on their journey in an old Dodge truck, chosen by his father for its capacity to transport rocks intended for landscaping near their country cabin. Curiously, the family's personal Ford vehicle remained parked in the driveway, unused. When pressed about his decision not to accompany his relatives on vacation, Nolen reiterated his sense of duty in safeguarding the household and tending to the garden during their absence. Nolen also shed light on a contentious issue involving a neighbor's cultivation of illicit vegetation near the Buchanan property. According to Nolen, his father engaged in frequent disputes with this neighbor, adamantly demanding cessation of the prohibited activity and even threatening police intervention. Furthermore, Nolen divulged concerning details about Buchanan Construction's financial woes. The company, as his father confided, was grappling with mounting debts and undergoing significant downsizing, dwindling down to a mere 5 employees. This newfound insight provided investigators with a wealth of pertinent information and a prime suspect: the contentious neighbor, especially given the area's history of violent crime associated with illegal cultivation. Detectives reasoned that the escalating tensions between Buchanan and the neighbor, exacerbated by the latter's illicit activities, may have culminated in a fatal confrontation. The threat of police involvement, wielded by Buchanan as a means of coercion, could have potentially triggered the violent reprisal that claimed the lives of Buchanan and his family. The challenge lay in identifying the specific neighbor referenced in Nolen's account, a task complicated by the lack of concrete leads. Undeterred, investigators embarked on a meticulous neighborhood canvassing initiative, systematically interviewing each homeowner in search of pertinent information. This methodical approach eventually yielded success when they encountered a man who corroborated the narrative of a dispute with Adam concerning illicit cultivation. However, he asserted that the altercation had been swiftly resolved, rendering him with a credible alibi. With this lead debunked, investigators found themselves at a crossroads, grappling with the unresolved financial turmoil plaguing the Buchanan family's business. On September 18th, law enforcement officials pivoted their attention to Adam's company, conducting interviews with employees to ascertain the veracity of Nolen's disclosures. Their inquiries validated Nolen's claims. The company was indeed teetering on the brink of financial collapse, facing the specter of bankruptcy owing to mounting debts exceeding $30,000. Consequently, some employees had been laid off, exacerbating discontent among the workforce. It emerged that several former employees harbored profound grievances stemming from the downsizing measures implemented by the company. Hence, they might have been potential suspects in the crime. Fortunately for investigators, serendipity intervened when the local high school orchestrated a community cleanup event over the weekend. Students embarked on the task of clearing debris from a business park just a mile away from Adam's construction company. It was during this cleanup effort on September 19th that a significant discovery was made. A small purse containing the wallets and identification cards of Molly McAfee and Adam Buchanan was uncovered beneath a bush. Adjacent to the purse lay a .22 caliber rifle. Detectives swiftly descended upon the scene to scrutinize this crucial find. The county sheriff's office formulated a new hypothesis. The perpetrator utilized the discovered rifle to perpetrate the massacre of the Buchanan family, subsequently absconding with their personal documents from the crime scene in an attempt to obfuscate their identity. The implications were profound. It suggested that the assailant had traveled from Bonita to Greenwood to execute the heinous act before returning to Bonita to dispose of the incriminating evidence. Given the proximity of the evidence to Buchanan Construction, suspicions intensified regarding the involvement of disgruntled employees in the boss's demise. In light of these developments, detectives promptly dispatched the firearm and the bag of documents for forensic examination, concurrently seeking a warrant to probe the company's records and premises. Herein lay another stroke of luck for the investigative team. Their search of the company's premises granted them access to a video surveillance camera inadvertently installed on site. Remarkably, the camera's lens was positioned to capture activities beyond the company's immediate vicinity. Following the discovery at the heart of the parking lot, the case appeared on the brink of resolution. With the family's absence confirmed on Friday, investigators embarked on a meticulous review of the day's surveillance footage. To their surprise, Adam was observed hitching a trailer laden with rocks to a Ford F-150, contradicting Nolen's earlier account of a Dodge truck. This incongruity raised suspicions that Nolen had intentionally misled the investigation, prompting detectives to reevaluate his role in the unfolding saga. In a bid to extract further details while safeguarding Nolen's well-being, investigators conducted a follow-up interview. This time, they probed into intricate aspects of his weekend activities, including the movie he purportedly watched, his expenditure during a mall visit, and his mode of payment for dessert on a date. Nolen unwittingly revealed crucial information, admitting to utilizing his father's credit card for financial transactions. Armed with this newfound insight, officers swiftly secured a warrant to comb through Buchanan's residence in Bonita, scrutinize vehicles, and scrutinize financial records. The Ford automobile parked in the driveway underwent meticulous examination, revealing traces of reddish soil akin to that found in Greenwood. Although the fire had obliterated wheel tread marks near the country house, the accumulated dirt suggested recent travel to the location. Further investigation into credit card transactions unveiled a pivotal clue: Adam Buchanan's Taco Bell purchase on September 11th en route to Greenwood, corroborating Nolen's absence from the trip. However, surveillance footage from the diner revealed a glaring inconsistency: a white Ford instead of the expected truck. A subsequent search of the Ford yielded a Taco Bell receipt dated September 11th, bearing evidence of 4 drinks, mirroring items recovered from the fire scene. The convergence of evidence pointed unequivocally to Nolen's involvement, underscoring his pivotal role in the unfolding tragedy. The subsequent credit card transaction occurred on Saturday, September 12th, at the Valencia Club Bar in Penn, approximately 30 minutes away from the cabin. Adam's parents had previously informed detectives about the couple's penchant for visiting the bar post-cabin renovations. Security cameras at the bar captured Adam and Molly departing, while traffic cameras along the highway aided in tracing their journey. Notably, a Ford F-150 was recorded heading towards the Buchanan cabin around 2:30 a.m. on the day of the fire, with Adam and Molly visible in the vehicle. Subsequently, at 3:30 a.m., the same vehicle, now solely occupied by Nolen, was observed driving in the opposite direction. The morning of Sunday, September 13th, saw Adam's credit card being utilized at 3 establishments in Bonita: Starbucks, McDonald's, and a gas station. Confirming investigators' suspicions, the bank verified that Buchanan possessed only one bank card, contradicting Nolen's narratives. Meanwhile, forensic results corroborated the mounting evidence against Nolen, with his fingerprints discovered on the gun. His arrest, occurring mid-high school class, marked a dramatic turn of events. Despite the weight of evidence, Nolen adamantly pleaded not guilty, concocting a narrative wherein he portrayed himself as a victim of his father's violence. He claimed that his father initiated the violence, prompting him to wrest the weapon away in self-defense, inadvertently causing his father's demise. Nolen attributed subsequent actions, including the fire and falsehoods, to a state of panic and extreme fear. Throughout the trial, the defense centered on Adam's history of abuse towards his son and other family members. However, the medical examiner's testimony raised doubts, particularly regarding the angle of the gunshot wound on a piece of Gavin's skull, which suggested a trajectory inconsistent with Nolen's account. Nolen, in contrast, maintained that he and his brother's beds were adjacent, refuting the plausibility of his defense. As they were roused from sleep by the tumultuous noise and cries, Nolen purportedly witnessed an intruder entering the bedroom and fatally shooting Gavin. Acting swiftly, Nolen allegedly managed to fend off the assailant, resulting in the attacker fleeing the scene. However, this narrative clashed with forensic findings, which indicated a trajectory inconsistent with Nolen's account. The prosecution posited an alternative theory, suggesting that Nolen, seizing an opportunity when alone with his brother, committed the initial act of violence. Subsequently, upon his parents' return from the bar, Nolen proceeded to fatally shoot them as well. The sequence of events was deduced based on the positioning of the bodies, indicating Adam's demise preceding Molly's. Following the gruesome act, Nolen purportedly drenched the bodies in gasoline, ignited the fire, and absconded to his girlfriend's residence, thereby establishing an alibi. On July 13, 2018, a jury deliberated and found Nolen guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder. Consequently, he received a sentence of 150 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Judge Kingsbury, in delivering the verdict, reflected on Nolen's history of verbal and physical abuse, juxtaposing it with the damning testimony that implicated Nolen in the massacre of his brother and parents. Because he couldn't bear the thought of his brother enduring the same trauma or suffering the consequences of his father's actions, Nolen took responsibility for Gavin's demise. However, alongside this admission, the judge underscored the premeditated nature of the crime, the subsequent arson, Nolen's efforts to fabricate an alibi, and his aspirations to assume control of the family business, details revealed during trial testimony. Judge Kingsbury referenced reports of rule violations and aberrant behavior documented by staff at the South Lake Tahoe Juvenile Treatment Center, where Nolen was housed following his arrest. Despite the severity of the sentence, the judge conveyed a message of hope, emphasizing Nolen's opportunity for rehabilitation and eventual parole eligibility after 25 years. Nolen maintains his innocence, steadfast in his belief that he was wrongfully convicted. However, if granted parole in the future, he will be required to provide substantial restitution to the victims, although the exact amount remains undetermined. Thank you for watching, everyone. Sam was glad to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on new stories from around the world. Take care, and see you soon.